Read another one from somebody who says, ask Honorable Chirchir whether there is any PPP deal that he signed in the Ministry of Energy, and if there is one, what are its terms?
I have one here too.
Yes, the last one.
Can you ask the cabinet nominee, David Chirchir, why there is huge cases of electricity brokers hacking smart meter codes in the country to destabilize the electric grid and to cut power bills?
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
One person has sent me, Ministry of Transport gives PSC requirements for engineers, hence they only advertise engineers registered by EBK, and they don't include KTRAB, which is Kenya Technology Registration Board, who are graduates in Bachelor of Technology in Civil Engineering. What will he do about
Take
that?
5 minutes to respond to those.
Chair, maybe he could also respond to one.
Yes.
The one for the toilets, I also got it. What he will do to deal with, he's asking, ask CS Chirchir. The first one was on Kera, on the stalled contracts that you answered. How is he going to avoid loss of public funds that is paid to contractors as interest accrued as a result of delayed payments of IPCs?
One more, Mr. Speaker.
This one of toilets is very serious.
This one says, as the CS, both Lapsset to Uhuru government have allocated 10 billion out of the 18 billion meant for Lamu Garissa section. The Kenya Kwanza government has so far allocated only 35 million for the last 3 financial years. Right?
We have one more nominee to come, and it's 5:45.
SGR, we have a development fund called Railway Development Fund, which collects about 36 billion annually. This is an area where we need to quickly look at how to secure that fund so that we don't use for some maintenance or some small developments, and therefore be able to, with 36 billion revenue, which by law is designated for development, we can borrow against it and be able to support the Naivasha, Kisumu, Malaba very quickly. And I'm aware that Uganda are trying to really work with us so that we can get more goods and even support the kind of cargo, the volume cargo, and make Kenya Railways more profitable. So that's an area which, like you said, with competition coming from outside Kenya, we need to quickly work on that, Speaker. Nidhi Killer Bridge, I honestly thought it had been done, so it will be on the priority list. It cannot be called a killer bridge. It's not a good name. The toilets along the highway is very progressive. I don't think it's expensive to locate toilets in between towns. And like you said, it's something we can look at. It's not an expensive investment on our major highways. And therefore, you see the modern petrol stations in Total, Shell, Rubis having very nice modern toilets. We can be able to support that investment and ensure that on our highways we do have very good facilities for people to. It could be nice in terms of even people stopping and stop driving under pressure and causing accidents. It could actually reduce accident by certain levels. Njeri oil deal was disposed in court. It was a very interesting case of somebody making a claim on a cargo that left Saudi Aramco, and that went to court. Chair, nobody had involvement in Kenya. It was just some fraudster who wanted to be smart, because I think all the papers were just photocopied, and we did support the investigation and close the case because it was really presenting a very bad picture under the G2G, and it was bound to interfere with the supply of oil products into Kenya if we didn't work hard together to close that issue. Affirmative action on our local contractors is something I've talked to. It is a very topical issue. It's something, it's coming from outside, it's coming from within here. We need to work on that and ensure that Our local contractors are supported, and there is no capital flight because we should be employing our local Kenyans. The law on local content is something that really, with the clinker industry really working on the kind of duties that we have levied on imported clinker, we should be able to use more of our cement. It is very popular. We are getting more of investment. Industry could easily be growing from 7% GDP to a higher number if we support the local content. It can support our industry and goes further to answering the question of employment of our Kenyans. PPP on energy signed. Let me say, PPP on energy, I would actually dare say all IPPs are PPP. They are. Only that the law came much later. But the power purchase agreement that is signed, you develop a power plant, we sign to buy your product for 20-25 years, we give you a letter of support, we give you now we are using the ATIDI. We've got a very innovative trade insurance which can help us to forestall having to address the headroom of borrowing on or liability on government balance sheet on what we call the partial risk guarantee. So we are now using the ATIDI, Africa Trade Insurance facility, and therefore, yes, there are many PPPs in energy. We have a very clear framework under EPRA, like I said, a term sheet, which dictates what is allowable to be able to have the tariffs right. There's a long waiting list of power generators. There's a long waiting list of people who want to build transmission networks. And unless we get the correct return on investment in line with our term sheets as developed by EPRA, it would be expensive to the economy. So we are working on that. Yes, we have a number of them. But there are none signed lately. You do know, Chairman, that Parliament did put a moratorium on power generation. And we're beginning to have a concern on whether we will not be load shedding by 2027, because I said we're currently developing power for 2027, 2028. And with a moratorium sitting in Parliament, we could be looking at a load shedding unless we work together. So that's just a side comment. Interest on delays. Interest, let me get from Ichungwa the interest on delay. I didn't get that properly.
Asking. You're asking what you are doing to, these SMSs are too many. How are you going to avoid loss of public funds that is paid to contractors as interest accrued as a result of delayed payment of IPCs?
Thank you, but because I realized I skipped one on the PSC registration of engineers who are employed as technologists. I want to assure members that in numbers, KenGen, Ketraco, Kenya Power employs a lot of technologists. I would really need to check if I was still the minister today, but I will put it in my handover notes to my colleague if it's confirmed, to ensure that we clarify that area of the Kenya technologies, because there's a registration board for the technologies, and there is no reason why it is not the engineers who really do the conductors and who build the network. It is these technologies.
It is for transport, this one.
It is for transport. So it's an area where I will basically follow up and check and confirm that we don't have any bias. The interest on loans is something we've really prosecuted, and I want to, without really disregarding that question, confirm that we did say the bending bills of 166 is made up of about 97 billion in principal and 60 billion in interest. It is in our interest, Chair, to ensure that we very quickly address the payment of these bending bills and put in a mechanism to ensure that the bending bills challenge, particularly for these ongoing projects, is addressed so that we do not have to pay that kind of money. And I agree it is a loss to the economy having to pay. By the time we finish building those roads, this is part of the cost, and the road moves from 200, 300 million because of interest and penalties on delayed payments. Lapsset, Russell, what was the question on Lapsset?
During the Kibaki government, it was 10 billion. Then they reduced from 18 to 10 billion. But now, over the last 2 financial years, there's only been 35 million.
I think Lapsset framework was meant to be a PPP corridor, as it were, and we did 3 parts where we invested that money to do the 3 parts which are ready. And that's why, Speaker, I said we need to work together to see how to utilize those 3 ports which are complete. We did path of fertilizer which came into the country. We have used it to ship the animals out of the country. We'll need to very quickly spend time marketing the Lapsset corridor. We need, when I talk to the field development plan for the pipeline, it will be following the Lapsset corridor. If we are able to close this field development plan and get the pipeline running along the corridor, we'll need the power lines for hitting the pipeline to run along. We'll need to...
Mr. Speaker, I really want Mr. Chirchir, you confirm, is Lapsset a PPP or it was a Kenya government project that was co-joined with Southern Sudan and Ethiopia?
So, Chair, I will confirm when I go to office. But for now, let me not make commitments because, like I said, it's a very important corridor that Kenya can leverage.
It was conceived as a project between Kenya, Ethiopia, and South Sudan, and partly Uganda. That's why when it was launched by President Kibaki, and I was the foreign minister, Mele Zenawi from Ethiopia was present, Salva Kiir was present, and Museveni sent somebody. It was a dedicated port and corridor to be co-developed by these countries.
And so let me follow up. Like I said in my earlier comments, it's a very important corridor. It helps us to open a new development corridor. It helps us to have a second competitive port to support Mombasa, which is kind of congested. You know, Changamwe is fairly congested, and helps us to be competitive as compared to our neighbors, given the fact that whereas we are serving significantly Uganda, Rwanda, DRC, northern Rwanda and DRC using Mombasa, Lamu, apart from opening a new development corridor for Kenya, will leverage on South Sudan, Ethiopia, because of the challenges of Djibouti today and South Sudan and the challenge they have using the Sudan to export their products, and even the challenge they have with the pipeline at the moment. Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, in just 2 minutes, can the nominee, you said 2027 we may go to load shedding. Just tell us in 2 minutes, now that you're leaving that ministry, what
He said Parliament put a moratorium on the development of new power projects. Did you say that?
Yeah.
Yes. Can you...
When I came into office as a Minister for Energy and Petroleum, there was a moratorium which had been put by the executive, and I have since gone to Cabinet to lift that moratorium. But soon, Parliament, through a motion from Genzs Laikipia, did put a motion and suspended all power plants. What we've been doing lately, with the knowledge that Kenyan is fully government, is working on bringing projects to financial close. We really need Parliament to help us, and maybe we need to spend more time with the